A garden of pure ideology.
Yeah, just your typical Super Bowl car ad.
Or a hilarious beer ad.
Break was over 15 minutes ago, Mitch!
I think you're the best ever.
Look out. Back up. Where are you?
You're in the bush.
Well, how am I supposed to know? I've never been there.
I don't always drink beer, but when I do...
Wanna play Bobby?
I think we're gonna be here a while.
The sports car glides and swerves beautifully down the winding road. The camera rolls. The light is perfect. This is the shot. And then, disaster. The stunt driver miscalculates. The tires screech. The car flips, skidding in a shower of sparks. The rig collapses. And in what feels like slow motion, our Alexa 35, with the most insanely expensive vintage lens that the DP just had to have for this shoot, goes bouncing over the bridge and vanishes into the thundering river below. The stunt driver gets out of the car. He's fine. The director's face disappears into their hat. The producer drops into their chair. The client, who insisted on being on set today, looks right at you. And the lead actor we paid for, livid, because their custom order latte still has not yet arrived. Then, an SUV pulls up. The back door opens, and out steps Scott Terry, Business Affairs, calm, collected. See, while we spiral into a full-blown panic, Scott makes the calls. He locks in insurance, handles the legal fallout, and somehow secures a replacement Alexa 35 and lenses before lunch. And just as our lead actor finally decides that with their latte in hand, we should get going, we're ready because they're ready, Scott returns to us at Video Village and says, we're good to go. And that, my friends, is why you should appreciate Business Affairs. Because while we filmmakers are out here chasing that perfect shot, someone has to keep the business from burning to the ground. Someone has to deal with the legal chaos, the insurance claims, the horrified clients, and the contracts that we don't want to keep rereading. Scott Terry, Director of Business Affairs at Forsman Bodenfors, New York, is who works behind the scenes to help us continue making movie magic. And on this episode, we chat with Scott and get to hear a bit about what it's like to navigate the crazy world of business affairs and advertising. Some bullet points, we get into the nitty-gritty of his day-to-day, think legal stuff, talent management, social media, PR, the importance of early project involvement, such as tax credits, pretty cool, didn't know about this, and music royalties. Plus, he shares some golden nuggets of wisdom for anyone looking to break in. And finally, Scott shares about the value of experience in business affairs and why it is a career that can stand the test of time. So, here we go. All right, Scott, if you could, for our listeners, could you introduce yourself and let them know what it is you do and where you do it? I'm also cheating so that you pronounce your company name so that I don't have to, because as I know where they're from, I just want to hear you do it and hear how we pronounce it in America. But yes, sir, let us know who you are.
Sure. I'm Scott Terry, the Director of Business Affairs at, I guess the Swedish pronunciation is Forsman Bodenfors. But in the US, we just say Forsman Bodenfors. And I work for the New York office remotely from Chicago. And I also help with talent, social media, PR, award shows, getting people onto juries, new business. We're a relatively small agency, so I wear a lot of hats.
Relatively small?
Yes.
Can you tell me why you say you're relatively small? Because to many, you are not relatively small.
Yeah, I mean, our New York office is like a little bit less than 30, but globally, I think we're in the 350 to 400 range. And we're in Europe, Middle East, Asia, Canada, and we're probably, we started out in Sweden, obviously, two offices there. Very well known for the epic split with Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Is that going to be obnoxious to bring up? But yes, to anybody who's not getting it, the epic split with Jean-Claude Van Damme between the two 18-wheelers, that was you all.
Yep, exactly.
Now, do you recall which office was responsible for that one?
I believe that was Gothenburg. That's our headquarters. Cool. So we've got Gothenburg and Stockholm, and Gothenburg is the main office there.
I've never had the chance to speak to someone in your position on here before. I would love to hear, to the best way you can describe it, of course, where you are in the ecosystem of the, I guess you could say, commercial advertising, video advertising process. Like, let's say we'll just use the Super Bowl since we've got a Super Bowl around the corner. That's coming up. Your office has a spot. Where can you just maybe start telling us, instruct us on where you are in the chain? And you, if it's cool with you, and maybe you've already had to do this before, but what's the situations that come up where you have to step in and start dealing with that? Because as I was looking at your stuff, from what I understand, you handle pretty much all facets of business affairs. As you said, talent management, potential legal issues, trademark issues, music royalties, tax credits, things like that, licensing. I don't know. So yeah, if not to leave you stranded on the discussion too much, but I'd love to just hear the whole thing of where the process begins, and then once you have to get involved and how it can really jam it up.
For sure. Yeah. So basically, I mean, the easiest way to describe business affairs and talent is kind of being the right hand of the producer so that they can focus on the creative, and I can focus on making sure that agency and the clients don't get sued or have these massive SAG claims where they owe hundreds of thousands of dollars. So I try to get involved early on. So when they're starting, the creatives are starting to work on the scripts, I can kind of review them and put up any red flags. You know, if they've got an Adidas logo on a t-shirt, okay, we know we should go with a t-shirt without a logo, or kind of Greek it out. Unless we want to actually show that t-shirt, and then we can go to Adidas and ask for permission. And usually the brands would be fine with that, as long as you're not, you know, if it's a car company and you're going to crash their car, like they're not going to like that.
Right.
But yeah, so I get involved in all facets, like we're reviewing the scripts, making sure we have the music licenses, the talent contracts, the production contract, purchase orders with our post houses. I work on, if we shoot in a state where we can collect tax credits, like Illinois is a great example. I work with an outside company that will help collect those tax credits so the client can get money back. So say they spent $100,000 on production, which is pretty low, but just for math purposes, in Illinois, they could get maybe like $25,000 back from that production.
If I could jump in, I'd love to focus on that for a second, because now,
For sure.
and for the sake of transparency and growth, I didn't know there were tax credits for commercials.
Yes. Yeah.
And I assume they're not the same as film, or are they the same? So for example, let's say Georgia, who dominates that discussion. Does Georgia have pretty relative credits for commercials that they do for films and television?
Yeah, so every state is different, and some states don't offer tax credits. Like, you know, California, New York, they don't really need it because people want to shoot there anyway. So the incentives are ways to get people, you know, to come to Illinois and shoot in the winter, or to shoot down in exactly, or to shoot down in Georgia. And like, I mean, Walking Dead, I think, shot in Georgia and got tax credits for that. But yeah, a lot of programs will, besides TV and movies, will also do it for commercials. So like Illinois is a great example again, because, you know, we have a lot of shows that shoot here. We've got movies. There's always this debate on Batman. Is it New York or is it Chicago, which is Gotham? And yeah, so whenever we can, I try to suggest to the producer, like, hey, have we thought about shooting in this city so we can get some credits back? And because they're government programs, it does take about a year to actually see those. So when the client gets the money, they're kind of like surprised, and they're like, well, wait, what do I do with this? And it's like, feel free to use it towards the next production with us.
Well, that's probably a fantastic incentive, I would think, to come to you if they're getting money back. I mean, I'm sorry to be so blunt about it, but does legally it have to go back to the client since they fronted the bill for that production?
Yeah, I mean, the production dollars are theirs. Right. So, you know, we could ask them if we can take maybe a commission on that, because we've helped them collect it with this outside company, and we have to do some paperwork, especially with our finance team. Like, they have to show invoices and payments and all that to collect it.
It's actually really cool. I don't know how many, I mean, not the majority of the filmmakers are not in the producing position, but I do for us. So now I'm excited to go look at this stuff on Monday and check this out, because I mean, I'm already thinking of several states where we check the boxes. I know that just from looking at it from indie films. I mean, some of these states, it's as low as, 350,000 to start qualifying. And I mean, that's most of the commercials, so that's intriguing. I mean, obviously there's huge gaps between some like North Carolina, the base is 1 million. And then, but I think in Virginia, it's like 250. So that's
Yeah. They all
an hour apart. You could check that box. That's really interesting.
Yeah, they all have different qualifiers, and like even like some states, like Illinois, has also a qualifier that they want to have a diverse crew. So you have to show, diversity in the hiring. But yeah, and then some states just aren't that great. Like I heard Texas, you don't get back that much, so it's almost
Not last time I checked. No.
Yeah. So, and then another is the music royalties. Like when we do original music for commercials, our client can basically act as the publisher, and then the composer, they can basically split the royalties 50-50. It really comes into play when they have like a big TV media buy. So like think of like McDonald's or State Farm with those jingles. They've been
and in this scenario, they are hiring a composer.
Right.
And that composer's creating a jingle that's about to become super popular.
Yep.
Where do royalties come from on a State Farm jingle? I don't find myself going to Spotify and going, man, can't wait to listen to that State Farm jingle again. So where do those royalties come from?
So yeah, so like the TV stations, in order to run music on their stations, they pay into music royalty societies like ASCAP or BMI. And then ASCAP or BMI, start collecting all this money from the TV stations. And then if you can say like, hey, I ran my commercial on that station, here's the media buy, here's the name of the commercial, you can go to ASCAP, BMI, CSAC, and collect from that. So it's like, again, it's kind of like the tax credit in a way, except instead of a government, it's these private companies that are collecting the music royalties.
Wow. I can't tell if our collaborators are going to love this, if they're going to come down and be like, where are my royalties? Like, I've been composing commercials for you. Where are my royalties?
The problem though now is with streaming and digital, it's apparently very hard to collect on those. And I think that's also another issue that the music industry has with royalties. TV is, the best thing to do is do original work for hire music for TV, because that's where you're going to get the most bang back.
Yeah. Man, that's pretty cool. So I'm going to take it back to we're in the development stage. Your agency, I'm going to abbreviate and say F&B, just so that I'm not trying to say it the Swedish way. There's a script and you're working with a production company. And so now you're looking at it as well, because they say, all right, Scott, this is the one. This is greenlit. I assume, if I'm understanding your position correctly, you got to go, oh, okay, hang on. I know you're saying greenlit. Let me also say if it's greenlit or not, because we need to see if Nicki Minaj is willing to arm wrestle Matthew McConaughey or something like that, because you have to start looking. Am I understanding the process correctly so far?
Yeah. Okay. So I definitely, even when we start, if they've got 20 scripts, I might even get involved in that stage and look through them and, raise some initial flags. When we start honing in on what is going to be the script, we definitely will review that much further in depth. We have outside legal that I'll send it to just in case, because there's some things, even though I've been doing this for decades, there's some things that they're going to catch that I won't, because I'm not a lawyer. I'm just pretending to be one on TV, as they say. So especially when it comes to, categories like financial, alcohol, pharmaceuticals, those are obviously much more regulated and definitely need the legal eyes on those for any disclaimers that need to be added or things like that.
Yeah, I could see alcohol potentially tripping. I'll just say younger for now. Younger can mean anybody who doesn't have the experience to know that they need to catch those things. But because I wouldn't have thought that I need to check into that. If I'm making a whiskey commercial, I might just go for it and try to make the best one I can. And I wouldn't think to look for some of the what's something you would look for in an alcohol commercial so that we can better understand that.
Well, there's certain things like just making sure people aren't over consuming, doing shots
in the commercial.
In the commercial, yeah.
I didn't know that. So people don't do shots in the commercials.
Yeah, and I think even
Oh my
sometimes
gosh, my brain's going nuts. Have I ever
Yeah.
seen people hit like ripping shots in commercials?
Probably not, at least on TV.
You're right. It's usually a very classy, nice, sippy glass of something that 15 years ago I would be like nailing. You're right. Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
What else have we not noticed that's been right in front of us?
I mean, and there's even just in things that aren't even the regulated ones, like, we had someone riding, one of those push scooters, and legal's like, make sure they have a helmet on. Or we worked on Nissan, and we had all these mascots from the colleges, like in cars, driving the cars, and they're like, you have to make sure they have seatbelts on. And some of these mascot costumes were so massive that we had to like do custom seatbelts to get around them.
That's funny.
So, I mean, years ago, like business affairs kind of got this reputation as the department of no, because we would be looking at these things and be like, you can't do that, you can't do that, you can't do that.
Mm-hmm.
But we, over the years, some of us coming up were like, no, we need to reinvent ourselves. We need to say, you can't do it that way, but what if you did it this way? And I did that, I don't know, about a year ago with one of my creatives, and he was like, that's great. I love that idea. That'll work. So it's making sure that we don't, kill any creative ideas, but we still come up with ways that it can be done so there isn't a lawsuit later on.
There's a lot, as you said, there's a lot of connection. What you do is pretty seemingly close to what producers have to do. And I know producers probably one of the most vague terms in filmmaking and commercial filmmaking in general. I'm curious to start kind of weaving in your story a little bit with what you do. One's how you got in, because as I'm coming to understand, your position is pretty rare because I don't see your title too much, at least with the agencies that we work with. But I'd love to know how you got in, and once you started finding yourself on this track to this position.
So actually, when I first started out, I wanted to be a copywriter. Okay. And I was going through some interviews with this one agency. I think I got to like the third round, and I was like getting to the pretty higher up stage with like a GCD, and he noticed a typo in my portfolio, and I was like, shit, does that mean the interview's over? And he's like, yeah. I'm like, really? So
wow.
that was a big
I get it, but wow.
I know. I was like, I mean, and a lot of the bigger agencies like actually had proofreaders. So I was like, well, a proofreader could have caught this, but it was kind of a wake up call for me. And then I also thought, can I be creative all day, every day?
Great question.
And then I also thought too about like how competitive the creative landscape is. And also, I wasn't thinking about this back then, but I know that creatives tend to get pushed out a little earlier than other departments. Mm-hmm. Like if you get to 40 and you're creative, you kind of have to watch your back a bit with the ageism in the industry, sadly.
I appreciate you sharing that. I mean, this is awesome, by the way. I really don't want to kill the momentum. If anything, I'm trying to stoke the flames of this type of talk, because whether it's ugly or not, it's still real, and people can have all the best intentions in the world. It's hard to change human nature.
Yep, for sure.
So yeah, I love what you're saying. Basically, please continue.
Yeah, no, and so I was like, well, what else can I do? I want to stay in advertising, so I started trying to figure out like what other departments there were, and I was like, production seems like a really good, interesting department. So I went into probably the most boring part of production just to get my foot in the door. It's traffic. So basically just making sure that the stations got the right commercials and they aired the right commercial. Pretty boring, but if you're thinking about like a $6 million Super Bowl commercial, very important that they air the right one. And from there, I went into talent management. So estimating how much it would cost for the SAG actors to run the commercial for the year.
Quick question, talent management. You didn't leave to become an agent or a manager. It was talent management within the agency.
Correct. Yeah. So, and now like sometimes HR uses talent manager, so it gets super confusing, but yeah, so it basically anything to do with the actors in the commercials, estimating for them, paying them, negotiating with even sometimes celebrities. And then from there, went into business affairs. So that used to be the track. It was, traffic, then talent, then
Right.
business affairs. Now it's much more gray in terms of how you get into it. But
Yeah.
so yeah, and then I've, throughout the years, I've had producers tell me, they're like, have you ever thought about being a producer? Like, you'd make a really great producer. And I was like, I've thought about it, but then I've also seen your 16-hour days on a set, and I don't know if I want that.
Yeah. And 16's assuming everything's going according to plan.
Exactly. As far as like the side stuff, when I was at DDB, I noticed our Instagram account. I mean, this was years ago when Instagram was just.
Was this in New York when you were there?
No, Chicago.
Chicago. Okay.
Yeah, DDB Chicago. I noticed that we weren't really using our Instagram much, and we didn't have that many followers. And so I went to them and I'm like, hey, what if I volunteered to take over the account, build it up, get some content going, get some followers? And they're like, for volunteer? Absolutely. Go for it.
That's a lot more work than I think a lot of people get it, but it's shockingly time consuming.
It is. Yeah. So I decided to do that. And so I started to basically train myself on how to do things like do a stop motion video and all these other things. And so I was like creating content, posting it, moderating. I was even doing
You weren't just
hacks.
managing it, you were making content to put on the channel.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And then I was even like finding hacks on how to get more followers. And this was, this is when Instagram was starting up. So it was a lot easier back then than now because TikTok has taken a lot of that share. But
yeah.
And so I got it from, I think it was 500 followers to 20,000 in about 3 years. And through that,
Good
we
jump.
even had, yeah. So we had people that would reach out and say, hey, I'd love to work at DDB. We had, I even had a potential client that came in and I brought them to the new business team. And I said, this is through our Instagram account. And they're like, wow. So it was fun because it was volunteer and I could, I could technically quit it whenever I wanted to. It wasn't my paid job. So
I love that.
And I mean, after about 3.5 years, I did have to pull back because my main job was getting very busy. But and then it led to a lot of things too. Like once I started at Forsman Bodenfors, my boss at the time was like, hey, so you mentioned that you ran the DDB Instagram account. Would you mind helping with our Instagram and LinkedIn? And I was like, yeah, sure, absolutely. But luckily, I mean, we've got a great team. I got a guy that was an intern who is now art director, is hired full time. Got a copywriter, got a strategist. So we have a team. So really, I don't have to worry about me creating the content. I can rely on them and I can just, post and moderate comments and work on the followers. So not as much work as the past one was.
Very cool. Thank you for sharing all that. Let me guide us back to then our stressful fake 2025 Super Bowl commercial that's coming up. Let's do me a favor and just play with me, if you will. Let's create what a bad day looks like for you and how you have to fix it. So our Super Bowl commercial is coming up and Moritos, chips, you get it. We're doing our thing. I'd love to hear, where you have to start getting engaged even early. What do problems look like early on in the process too? And then how we have to start fixing them.
Yeah. So, I mean, problems can obviously pop up anywhere, and I've had them pop up in a few different areas. Sometimes it comes down to, one time I had a client that was slow in paying us. So we were getting to the 11th hour in terms of paying the production company. So
you mean you needed that deposit to get going?
Exactly. So it was basically the day before the shoot, the production company didn't have the money yet. And they were like, we're going to shut this down if you don't pay us. And luckily, my executive producer at the time smoothed it out. We got them paid the day of the shoot and moved forward. And the shoot was great after that, but super tense because you're like, wow, we have all this money on the line. They could shut it down. And then the client's going to have to go reshoot it another day and spend a bunch more money. So
takeaway from this one scenario being, even clients at an X level, you can get that close to production and they have not provided the deposit yet. And you guys all had to push forward in good faith and keep things cool.
Yep, exactly.
Okay.
And then I had another time where we had a freelance producer and they thought we could hire
Freelance,
talent.
just curious, just because I'm interested. Freelance on
Yeah.
the agency side, production side.
Yeah, sorry, freelance agency producer. And they
What do you bring in a
thought,
freelance agency producer for?
well, sometimes, the agency will get so busy with projects that all the people they have on
Right.
staff don't have enough bandwidth to
Right.
handle another production. So,
Okay.
and I think it was from like a sister agency. So,
Okay.
we're kind of pulling
Okay.
resources from
Makes
there.
sense.
And they thought that we could hire all these people, all these talent as extras. And I told them at the time, I'm like, no. Like what we're doing, it's going to qualify as stunt. And they're all going to come back and they're going to ask for a stunt and to be on camera principals. And we move forward.
So now we're getting into SAG rules.
Yeah, exactly. So
Got it.
the other side of business affairs.
Right. Well, meaning you need somebody who's SAG savvy.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Especially if, some agencies aren't SAG signatory, but we were at the time. And so we moved forward. We hired them as extras. After the shoot, after they did everything, all their agents started calling us and saying, no, you can't. They need to be reclassified as principal on cameras because they did this.
So they were calling their agents right away to
Exactly. Yeah.
Got it.
They were, on the set, they're usually quiet and they just, keep their opinions to themselves. And then afterwards they're like, hey, agent.
That's a good tip. I don't think everybody would know that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cause they want to get through it. They don't want to, disturb the shoot day, but afterwards they want to make sure that they're getting paid fairly.
To do the work, then it's easy to say, pay me for the work that's already done.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So afterwards all these agents are calling and then I think SAG even got involved and it ended up being, I think it was about $250,000 that we had to pay extra. So that was quite a hit to the budget. And, it's these things where, not all people are going to realize these potential effects. Like I always like to say, like in business affairs, a lot of people don't know what we do until something happens.
Oh, yeah.
So we're kind of behind the scenes, but if something does blow up, they're like, oh, wait. So, the ultimate scenario is people just don't notice that we're there. We're working behind the scenes. Everything's going
Right.
smoothly. And then we had another one too, where it was a car commercial. There was a SUV driving up a mountain in snow. The SUV ended up flipping.
So this is a production situation, something that
Production
happened on the day.
situation.
Got it.
Exactly. And it flipped, I think it was into the trees off the side of the road. Luckily, we had a backup vehicle so we could keep shooting. But of course, there was, we had to deal with the insurance claim afterwards between our production insurance company and the production company and getting that sorted.
You know what? I see exactly what you mean now. And to translate this for the younger, again, I'll just say younger, production companies, we'll say it's a small team, maybe a few years out of college. Yeah, when you're busy trying to deliver cuts to the client, you don't want to be the one stopping to have to make these calls. And I remember 6 or 7 years ago being in those positions where I was saying, quote, I don't have time for this, but it was really just, I'm overwhelmed.
Yeah.
And that's when it would be nice to be able to turn around and go, hey, Scott. So I can see now, I see how the pieces can be quite valuable now. Like that's truly business affairs. Scott, we wrecked a vehicle and there could potentially be insurance claims from the driver too, I would assume. And then all that stuff has to get just perfectly executed while we're still focusing on the thing that's already giving us the 16-hour day.
Exactly. And that's
okay.
And that's what I enjoy. I enjoy being, like I said, that right hand of the producer so that they can stay focused on the creative, work with the creatives, get through the shoot, and I can, try to help with any potential or at least, hopefully.
Sounds like you're like a fixer.
I try to be. Yeah.
Like the fixer who you call, almost mob-like, but professional in a way. Hey, we got a problem. Fix it.
Yeah. No, and I get that. Like I've had past producers that I haven't worked with in 5-10 years, and they'll call me up and like, hey, Scott, it's the weekend. I'm on a shoot, and I can't get a hold of some people. Can I just ask you a quick question? And I'm like, yeah, sure, no problem.
Yeah.
So yeah, it definitely I think it comes in handy, and I think it also
Yeah.
helps with the producers so that they don't have to take all of that responsibility on.
Okay. Well, I'm going to keep, just because the education is fun, I want to keep kind of grinding back towards our fake Super Bowl commercial. I think celebrity problems, that's kind of an easy one to understand. If you just could watch Entourage or something, or you just hear stories. Maybe it's just me. I don't know. I when I was a PA in LA, I ran first team, so I got to be up front for a lot of this stuff. But I feel like that's the stuff most people hear about. But maybe before I just pass over it, are there any issues on the commercial side that can come up or that can be intriguing that you have to deal with that we might not think about outside of the "where's my juice" and or they want to dye my hair, I don't want to dye my hair types of scenarios?
I mean, I was on one. Well, I wasn't on the shoot. I never get to go to the shoots, unfortunately, because the budget doesn't allow. But we did have one where a very famous celebrity had a meltdown on the shoot, and I think it took a few hours to get him back, to calm him down, to get him back to the
Said
shoot.
things that aren't normal, Scott.
Okay, yeah, that is normal.
I'm kidding. No, I'm just. I mean, I'm joking, but not. I mean, I've seen it. That was like a shock too when I started PAing in LA. I was like, oh my gosh, they're really holding this whole thing up, flipping out, aren't they?
Yep. And then I mean, and then you also have celebrities where you think you've got an agreement, you've got a deal, and then they end up backing out, and then you have to scramble to find a new celebrity for your Super Bowl commercial, and it can be quite a challenge. And yeah, I mean, again, some of these things are the reasons I don't want to be a producer, because I've seen
because
the
then you have to
stress.
be part of the solution for that on-camera solution too.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Sorry to keep beating a dead horse, but yeah, I'm trying to exhaust those scenarios where you have to step in and it's a little too ugly for we'll say the copywriters and directors to handle, and the DP.
Actually, there's another one that
Yes, please.
So we were licensing some music, thought we had the correct licensors to deal with.
Mm-hmm.
And then out of the blue, this other licensor comes in and says, oh, no, I have the rights to that song.
Ooh.
And so basically we've got two music companies battling it out, saying, no, I have the right to it. No, I have the right to it. And it came down to, it was like the night before the commercial was supposed to launch nationally. Luckily we had a fantastic music company partner who ended up, like, they knew all the music people, and they sorted it out, and they said, look, I don't care what you do moving forward, but for this one, we need to get this resolved. Need to get it resolved now. And they ended up fixing it. And which, again, the night before it was supposed to launch. So it was pretty tense.
Yeah. What is the New York office maybe doing right now that you're enjoying that they're doing? Maybe going in a direction that you think is cool or good for business, or good for, your staff and your team, or just good for the world or culture in general?
Well, I think we've got a really solid relationship between like strategy and creative. So they're working hand in hand to making sure that we have really solid ideas for the clients. And I mean, the breadth of clients that we work on, we work on things from Seagrams and Baileys to Therabody.
I saw,
so we've got all these, pretty large clients, and our creatives are great at like adapting to all the different categories that they're in. And then we've got two senior producers who they work magic. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what the budget is. They're great at finding like the perfect production partners and post-production, and just really taking that creative idea from, words on a page to an actual real life, good production to get out there in the world. And I was gonna say too, and also like we've had some great success because, obviously you want really good creative to get out the door, but at the end of the day, it needs to sell product, right? So we've had great success with that, with like Seagrams and Therabody, to the point where, sometimes it's so successful that they just want to keep running it, and because it's still doing well. And I mean, it's great. It's a great success story.
good problem to have. Yeah.
It's a good problem to have. Yeah. But so, yeah, I mean, the awards are great. They show that the industry thinks highly of your work. But, you know, the awards like the Effies, where you can show that it's creativity and sales, I mean, that's really a great space to be in.
Yeah. What is there anything about the commercial ad industry right now that's maybe frustrating to you and or the office or your team, people that you're working with, something that you feel like you're all up against that could be anything, you know, clients, culture?
I think, I mean, because there's so many agencies out there now, and there's obviously a lot of competition. You know, there's new agencies popping up that become hot shops that you're competing against. I do think that there's a trajectory right now, which I love seeing, where big clients are starting to work with smaller agencies and indie agencies. You know, so they're realizing that they don't need a 300 person, you know, New York office to work with. They can work with an agency like us that's under 30 people, and then they have less layers and we can move quicker and faster. I like seeing that trend. But as far as challenges, I mean, and I'm sure you know this, obviously, the budgets, you know, they've been shrinking, they've been getting more challenging. So you have to.
Seems to be across the board, not just at the middle tier,
Yeah.
from what I'm hearing.
Exactly. So, but that's when, you know, like our two senior producers, when they can come in and they're like, all right, I think I can figure out a way to do this for the budget. And I know this partner that would probably love to work on this. And so it's just like getting all those pieces together is a lot more challenging, but they've been able to pull it off and very well.
Is there a thing that from your position you feel is a must, that if you had maybe one thing, if you were one of those freelance, if you became like a freelance business affairs guru, that if there was a thing that was bothering you that ad agencies and production companies just kind of continue to overlook, that you wish, be like, man, I really wish you guys would all start handling this better? Is there a one thing that we could all start maybe doing a little bit better?
The only thing, and it's not really like probably exactly what you're talking about, but I think leaving the money on the table, like the tax credits and the music royalties, because sometimes when I bring this up, even to other business affairs people, they're like, oh, you can collect that. And I'm like, yeah, absolutely.
Oh, that makes me feel better.
Yeah, no, I mean, and I think, a lot of people don't know about it. And so every chance I have to talk about it, I definitely bring it up because I'm like, it's just money sitting there that you can just grab. Yeah. So I think that's something that people should definitely be going after, because, you know, if budgets are getting tighter and they can collect some of that money, then they can use that money for other productions later on.
Well, like you said, I mean, commercial budget, I know for a fact that commercial budgets are hitting some of these states' minimums. You know, Mississippi, which this is for a reason, but I think Mississippi, when I was looking at where to shoot a film a year or two ago, Mississippi was like 50,000. That's insane.
Yeah.
Like that's local commercial stuff right there. 50,000.
Well,
for the minimum.
And the great thing too about these tax incentives is because a bunch of people started shooting in, say, Georgia and Illinois, it's really built up the film community and the crews. So you've got like top-notch people working now in Illinois and Georgia versus California, you know, so it's really spreading out the love, if you will.
Just because I'm going to keep selfishly getting stuff out of you with the time that I have you. What last push on your bad day? What does a bad day look like for you? What does it look like to be overwhelmed in your position? What's the bad situation for you where you're the one pulling the 16-hour day?
Yeah, for sure. So when I was at one of my previous agencies, my head of production, much to her credit, thought I could handle a lot, and she trusted me. And she knew I got stuff done. So at one point, I was working with 14 different producers at one time. So I literally was thinking about getting one of those like deli take a number signs and putting it on my desk, because it was getting to like that bad where I was sitting in the office and producers just kept coming over and asking me questions. And I was like, wait, I need to deal with the last one. So it's the amount of work. The problem with that is then I can't focus enough on one to make sure that I'm not dropping a ball on
Yeah.
one of them when I'm trying to deal with, 14 different ones. So
Yeah.
and I was, got some freelance help, luckily.
You mentioned freelance producer. Is this one of the things where, let's say we take it back to development, you can swing over to the office and be like, hey guys, this is going to be one where I need a couple of extra guns to help me out.
Yeah, absolutely. Like at the time, like back then, I didn't know I was going to have all those productions at once. But, in my current agency, like because I'm the only one here, I can see everything coming. So if I do see, like 10 productions coming at once, I can raise my
How do you see them
hands.
coming? Is that just being in the community, having an ear to the ground, or?
Yeah. So, I mean, basically my account team, which we call BP, business partnerships, between them and my producers and even strategy, like I'll know what's coming up. Like if we have, I mean, a lot of, we've got some that are agency of record clients, and then a lot that are per project, because a lot of it's a lot of per project these days across all the agencies. But if you know what's coming up, then yeah, I can definitely then like raise my hand and be like, okay, I think I'm going to need some freelance help here. Can we at least like look into availabilities for some people? I know some contacts. I know they're good. And I mean, I even do that though, like I said, when I go on vacation, because I fully unplug, I get
making sure the support's there while you're out. I see.
Exactly. So
where are you finding other than the people who where are you finding those freelance producers?
Well, this is for freelance business affairs, but freelance producers, freelance business affairs. Yeah, I mean, I've been doing this, like I said, for decades. So I've got
So you got a Rolodex.
A big Rolodex, as they say.
I was just curious to know what, if there's people of a certain caliber, do they stay freelance because kind of in a line producer fashion, because they know that when they come in, it'll be crazy, but they'll get a solid paycheck and then they're just out until they accept the next phone call? Or is it more of a, hey, we have to try to find some good talent because everybody who's good is full-time at other companies?
So I'm seeing a mix, right? So like I've worked with some executive freelance producers who, like agency producers, who never wanted to go full-time because they just loved the freelance life. Like one of them would take her whole summer off, and she's like, I don't have to take any jobs because I've got 9 months of solid work. I've also seen, I saw one of those that ended up going full time because they're like, all right, fine, I'll give in. Yeah. But I think sometimes they love the variety of the different jobs, the different agencies, working with people all over, and then also they don't have to, if there's any politics, they don't have to really get involved because they're just like, hey, I'm a freelancer. Yeah. I can get out. Right. Yeah. But then also during if there's like an advertising recession and people get laid off, they'll go freelance if they don't find a new full-time gig. And then sometimes they might just realize like, wow, I actually really like this freelance life, so I'm just going to stick with it, even though there's these full-time opportunities. So yeah, it's a total blend. Like my wife is a freelancer, and she's like, I don't ever want you to freelance because I need your health benefits.
That makes sense. We've had those discussions about the one-on, one-off scenario.
Yep.
Have you seen scenarios where you've had to do what it is you do with the production companies? And I'm curious to know if you could just give us one, don't do this, and one, do this. That's okay if you can't. But if you could think of anything where you're like, you know what, there was this one production company, I loved them because they did this. That's great, because then we can go, that's what we're going to do. Because obviously we production companies, we want agencies to have a good experience so that we're on that short list as well. And then we don't want to be on the bad list. Yeah.
I mean, just, clear communication, open communication, getting back to people quickly is always great.
What's quickly for you?
I personally respond to stuff probably way too quickly. Like I had a pre-show joke around that saying that like, she's like, oh yeah, you respond right away.
You're pretty fast.
Yeah. But I also, I've seen people who take days, and I don't want to be that person. Yeah. So
we try to do the half-day rule.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's
if you've messaged in the morning, you have to hear back before end of business day.
Yeah. And that's great. Yeah, totally.
We don't know. Sometimes we're making this stuff up. So we're like, well, this seems like the best thing to do. That's why I'm cheating and asking you.
Yeah, I mean, if it's days, it's definitely way too long. But and then also like if you're working with a partner to help you on things like maybe you're working with a lawyer to review the agency's production contract, making sure that that agency partner is also working a pretty good timeline and not taking too long. Because I've seen that where production companies have worked with a lawyer and the lawyer takes a really long time. And I'm sitting here like, come on, we want to get this production contract done. We want to get your first payment made.
So sometimes the production company's taking too long to get their paperwork back to you.
Yeah, but it's not, I mean, I think it's usually not their fault. It's because they're using an outside lawyer and the outside lawyer maybe is working on too many things at once. So they're taking too long. So yeah. And then, and that then delays, until we get the production contract back, we really can't make the payment because we don't have an agreement in place yet.
Yeah. This is usually easier to ask for, just like you said, those copywriters and creative directors, art directors, right? Because it's so competitive that I think it almost makes answering this question easier for them in a way. But I'd be curious to know if you wanted to end up back in the position that you're in now at any company, or it could be yours because yours sounds cool. I mean, working remotely in Chicago with the office in New York sounds cool. You get the best of both pizzas. But if you wanted to end up back there today, what is it you would try to do, if anything, differently? I mean, because so much obviously has changed, for all of us, no matter whether you graduated a few years ago or more than that back, because of the landscape.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to say because I feel like I've had a pretty great career so far. I do feel like in business affairs, there used to only be like 3 titles. There was business affairs manager, senior business affairs manager, and then director of business affairs. Now there's an associate and there's an associate director. But so climbing the levels took quite a while. I feel like I was kind of stuck at senior for a while because there aren't that many of us and there aren't that many positions. It took a while for me to find the director slot. And I feel like I was ready for it maybe 5 or 10 years before I actually got it.
You had the job experience to get you into the position that you're in. So you weren't worried about a lack of knowledge or trying to climb too quickly, it sounds like.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So just for the sake of the exercise, where's the first job that you try to go to now? What's the first, just because I try to be as helpful as possible and put myself in the uncomfortable position to say, all right, younglings, here's a tangible pursuit. If you can't think of a path, here's a path that somebody who's actually in a good position said they would take. It could be a job in the mailroom, but if we had to pick something, what would you pick to say, well, I want to end up right back here, but in 2025, I guess this is my first maneuver.
So, I mean, I'm a little bit biased because I'm in business affairs and talent.
That's good, though. I mean, I want to hear your perspective because you might say something that I don't know about. You might say, start a company, and I'd go, whoa, what?
I mean, that is a possibility, too. I've seen that. I mean, in college, they really, I feel like, only talk about creative, maybe account, maybe a little bit about production. They never talk about business affairs, talent, maybe not even strategy. But because now we have multiple titles in business affairs, I think people can actually start to jump in after college to like associate business affairs manager and then start their career path that way.
Yeah.
And the thing I love about this department is, in this career path, I mean, I've got old coworkers, like one just turned 70. She's still working. Awesome. So, going back to the ageism in advertising and creatives kind of getting pushed out younger, business affairs, I mean, I've seen people working past retirement age a lot of times. And I love that, it's definitely an area of advertising where experience matters and they don't necessarily care about the young, new, shiny thing because they want someone who knows their stuff, who will keep them out of trouble.
Awesome. Thank you for entertaining that question. I know it can be an intriguing question.
No, for sure. And actually, I think it was about a month ago, I actually taught a class online with Michigan State University all about business affairs and talent, because again, it's not really talked about much. And I want to try to get more people interested because a lot of us are in our 40s, 50s, 60s, and we need the new generation to come in. Otherwise, in 10 or 20 years, agencies are going to really be struggling to find anyone to fill these roles.
What is it specifically that you want them to take an interest in? Is it just business in general in relation to what it is that we do?
I think just to even have the knowledge that this department exists and it's a full career path.
Yeah.
Because like I said, it's not really talked about. I think it's just a great career path. And I think if people know about it and, if I can make an online class interesting enough, I can pique their curiosity.
Yeah. I mean, to validate your point, I was just talking to Justin. He's one of the owners of Cry. And as we're talking about expanding, he talks to me about the stuff. And sometimes I'm like, man, I don't know. Like I'm trying to produce the stuff with you too. And one of the best things that I think I've offered lately is I was like, guys, we got to stop hiring filmmakers. I said, I want to go find an MBA, somebody who's not interested and not trying to sneak into the director's chair because I need a business savvy person. I mean, I don't mind producing, but I am more interested in securing that cliff that the car is going to drive up or something, and then the right car and the right tire. Those aspects of, there's different tiers of getting things done, but then there's all the way over to your tier, like the true daddy tier, where it's like, all right, I don't want to call the insurance companies, because the PA destroyed a U-Haul truck. Totally, obviously happens, but
and I think that's why it's great to have the split that we have in the US with the producer and business affairs, because I think it's better to have the two minds rather than the one trying to do both sides of it. And I mean, I obviously, from the stuff I do on the side, I enjoy being creative on the side, but I know I'm really good at the business side. So that's where I focus my career on. Obviously, I think it's great to explore everything. But our GCD, Yvonne, just did a whole article about the past and the future. And
really, do you know what that's called so that we can find it?
Yeah, absolutely.
That sounds perfect for what we're talking about. So you're okay if we provide a link to that?
Yeah, for sure. It was in shots.net.
Got it.
And it's called The Power of the Past in Tomorrow's Branding. And he was talking about, just leaning into a brand's heritage rather than chasing like the latest trend. So I think this is some pretty solid advice here.
Yeah, I'm going to take a look at this myself. This looks good.
And it's Guerra for Yvonne's last name.
Yeah, this looks like a good resource. I want to respect our time here. For today, and maybe we'll come back, there's nothing else we have to share today. Scott, I'd love to say thank you so much for letting me interrogate you with these questions. Where can anybody who wants to follow along your career and maybe learn a little bit more about you, where would you be comfortable with them finding you? Could be not at all, as always. You can say no.
So LinkedIn is a great place. I'm on there.
Got it.
And then my other social media app is Instagram. So it's just @ScottTerry. And
Awesome.
that's where I post all my travels, my side passion.
Yeah, that looked great. Well, Scott, for the podcast, I'm saying thank you so much. We appreciate it. And we look forward to sharing your knowledge with everyone.